Well, hello there. Okay, so I don't have time to record a full FTB Infinity episode this week. I shouldn't say this week, but I can't do it on time. Things have still been hectic with the move and everything. You'll hear about this in the next FTB Infinity episode. But without recording a full 30-minute video, I wanted to give you guys something. So for now, until I get that video up, here's a tutorial on a thing in vanilla Minecraft for once. Hey, back to vanilla. You guys know I like FTB better. I like modded because I like tech mods, but at the same time there is kind of quite a bit of tech you can do if you're smart. And by smart I mean if you watch other people's tutorials, because that's how I learn stuff. Anyway, stop rambling. Alright. So this is the Smart Smelter. So what is a Smart Smelter? So if we look here, we see I've got 14 pieces of charcoal, right? And now if I wanted to, oh, whoops, I was not smart when I built this. Let's take that out. All right, if I wanted to, I could throw fuel in here or whatever. And of course, that fuel would be picked up by the hopper and thrown directly into here. That's a classic smelter setup. But what happens if I don't have any more coal? I don't have any more charcoal on me. Do I want to sit there and smelt up charcoal on my own? No. I want my smelter, my furnace that is, to be able to detect when it's low on fuel and automatically make more fuel and refuel itself. So that's what happens here. So I put it low on fuel. So I'm at 14. Once this drops below 13, it's going to detect it and it's going to start making more fuel. So how does that work? I don't have anything to smelt. I was not fully prepared. So let's say I have some beef because I don't know, because I'm hungry. So if we throw in a few pieces of beef here and then close that, immediately it begins smelting, which, you know, we'd expect. Excuse me. And now it's down to 13 coal, which is fine. I might even need to throw a few more pieces of beef on there because I needed to get down below 13. So let's put a couple more pieces. Right. So this will get down below 13, and it's going to detect that this is below 13 and everything is done smelting. And once it detects that, it's going to send a signal out the back, which I will show you during the tutorial. I think I might even need some more beef. I guess charcoal lasts quite a while. But yeah, so we'll let that go. It's going to send a signal out the back, and it's going to tell it to throw some wood into the furnace. And then obviously when you start, there it is. See, it's below 13, or it's at 13, and there was nothing there. There was nothing to smelt, so it threw some wood on the furnace automatically. And then if you hear that clicking, I don't know if you can hear it, but as soon as each one of these is done, okay, so there's a clicking, and you'll notice this is not going down as fast as it should, and in fact is going up. It is refueling itself, and it's keeping itself above 13 pieces of charcoal at all times. Which is good, because that means that you can not have to ever worry about fuel except to, you know, punch enough trees to get some wood. So as soon as this is done fueling up, we can throw some of this on there. We could actually keep this in there the whole time, and then once the fuel is done, obviously now we have enough to start cooking our meat. And our meat goes here, our fuel goes automatically into the furnace here. So how does it work? It's actually kind of a simple thing. Like I said, I don't have a lot of time today, but I will explain it. So basically we have a comparator here, and a furnace has 3 slots which can each hold, you know, a stack of 64 items, usually, depending on the item, but most things in here are 64. And so if you do the math, what that means is that a signal strength of 1 gets up to a signal strength of 2 with 13 items in one slot and no items anywhere. So if the total is 13 items, such as 13 charcoal, or 13 charcoal and nothing else, or 12 charcoal and one item here, or whatever, that's when the signal strength gets boosted to 2. If it drops below that, the signal strength will go down to 1. When that happens, it will turn this repeater off, and this block right here is underneath this hopper. So this hopper will turn off and start pulling. And what is it pulling? Wood. This is the wood chest. So you keep as much wood in here as you can at all times, and usually when there are 13, or rather more than 13 items, so that means you have enough fuel, it'll block this hopper. It'll disable is the right word, this hopper, and so your fuel chest will remain untouched. Otherwise, it will start pulling, and that hopper goes into this chain, which goes into the same exact hopper chain that pulls your smeltable items. Which means as soon as there's 13 or less fuel, 13 or less fuel in here, and there's nothing to be smelted, it will automatically start pulling wood and putting it directly into there to be smelted with the remaining 13 or so pieces of charcoal that you have. So the next part is a simple item filter and extractor. It's a common design. It's just underground. So let's get down here. So what we have here is this is the hopper that pulls all of our output from our furnace and points into the chest back there. And that's where, I guess I can't really get to that chest, but yeah, it points into that chest, and that gives us all the stuff we've smelted. Underneath it is our item filter, which is a hopper pointing into the ground or just into nothing. And this has 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 of only our item in every slot. So we're trying to filter out just the charcoal so that we can send it back into the furnace. So we put 22 charcoal here, and only charcoal will get pulled because nothing else can fit in those slots. So whenever the wood comes through this chain and gets smelted up, it'll turn into charcoal. The charcoal will get pulled into here, and before it has time to push it into the chest, it will get pulled down into here. When that happens, you'll have more than 22 items, which, because there are 5 slots, means that it will have a signal strength from this comparator at 2. Which means it'll get to here, this repeater will pick it up and send it into there, and it's hard to see, but there is a redstone torch. There you go. There's a redstone torch on this block, so that when that signal goes there, that torch turns off, and this hopper right here will turn on, which will suck up the coal, or sorry, the charcoal, the charcoal from here into there, and then push it into this dropper. And what we have here is just a dropper tower on an auto dropper circuit. So whenever there is an item, such as charcoal, in this dropper, it will turn on this clock. And this is, in fact, a comparator clock, which is the fastest clock you can get without using command blocks. And that clock will constantly pulse, and that pulse will go into this repeater, which goes into this dropper. And the good thing about a repeater is it strongly powers the block that it's facing into. So it's going to strongly power this, meaning it'll power this, but it'll also power the dropper below and the dropper above at the same time. Which means every pulse of this clock, all 3 of these will fire at the same time. And so as long as there's an item in here, it will continuously fire all of these, and they're all facing upwards, which will push all the items up the tower and into this hopper, which of course is our fuel hopper. And that puts it into our furnace. So it refuels itself. Now, it is a little slow to refuel sometimes, depending on how long your fuel was below 13 before it had a chance to start smelting wood. Because if you have items in there, that aren't wood, like whatever you're smelting, ores or food or whatever, it will continue to smelt that because it won't be able to push the wood in as long as there's something else in this slot. And so because of that, you can actually get down to below 13, because remember, it's the total number of items in all 3 slots that has to be 13. So if there's enough items up here for it to be smelting, it'll go below 13, and that'll be sitting there long enough that it'll pump out too much wood. It'll give you basically a nice buffer in here of backup charcoal, which is nice, but that means you have to wait for all of that wood to smelt up. So it can be a little slow. However, there is also a similar way in which it can break. And that is, if you put more food in this chest, or more items to be smelted in that chest, than you have fuel currently in your furnace. So it will refuel itself, but it can only do so once everything is done smelting. So if you don't have enough coal or charcoal or otherwise fuel to finish smelting all the items in the chest, all of your fuel will burn out. You'll have items up here, and those items will not be smelted, and they will also stop the wood from coming in to turn into charcoal, and that'll break the whole system. So I've done a little math, and I believe that charcoal burns 8 items, or smelts 8 items. I know regular coal does. I believe charcoal is the same. Correct me if I'm wrong, which I very well may be. But I think it's 8 items per piece of charcoal. And so doing the math of having it need to stop at 12, what that means is never put 96. Never put more than 96 smeltable items in here at a time. What you should always do is put 96 or fewer items in here, let them all smelt up, and then they'll start auto refueling. You let the wood burn through and let it finish refueling, then you put more items in. I know it's not as smart as I would like it to be. If it was perfect, it would somehow detect that, probably up here or something. It would have a way to know that you have more than 96 items, and it wouldn't let you, it would stop it for auto refueling and then continue smelting. But this is a simple system. Like I said, I don't have much time. I should be going now. You'll hear more about my frantic life in the next episode of the FTB series, if you care. And if you don't, you will hear about it, but you probably won't listen, which is fine. Anyway, see what happens when I don't have a timer? I ramble. So until next time, keep redstoning.